kicking off in about any moment from now. So the agenda, we have a 1 hour session, and we hope to go through it quite speedily. First of all, let me start by welcoming those delegates who have come on board, who signed in to this real estate, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce real estate group roundtable discussion. As you know, this is hosted by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, the preeminent Chamber of Commerce in Nigeria, that leads the discussion on commerce and how best it should be done in the interest of all practitioners. Today we are effectively representing the voice of the real estate sector in Nigeria, and we shall be speaking to a topic that is quite germane to most of the practitioners, effectively trying to understand what the limiting factors are to the extent and growth of the sector. Joining me today, eminent personalities. Two eminent personalities. We have Mr. Femi Awoyemi. Mr. Femi Awoyemi, who is a leading voice in the investment space. He's a major analyzer in the company called ProShare. Those in Nigeria will understand effectively what ProShare does, especially in the equity space. They have a major influence when it comes to picking out stocks, picking investment, of which real estate is also one of those investments that is considered. Mr. Oyemi, you're very welcome, and thank you for giving us all your time. Share some of your experience and understanding with us today. Secondly, we have the risk man. I always tell him that he's the one that is holding all the money that we can use to develop real estate. And today I would understand why he keeps holding that decision, why there's not much more money involved in real estate, and why we're not taking, and I'll use it, say, why can't we take that risk? So, CRO, you're very welcome, Mr. Segun Alebiosu, the Chief Risk Officer of First Bank Nigeria. As we are, those who are listening, First Bank, you know, one of the oldest banks in Nigeria, and have been very involved in a lot of the structure and real estate that we know in Nigeria. Even though I might be, you should correct me, I don't believe that he's so much in real estate at the moment, but he will clarify that as we speak along. Right. The topic today is, will real estate struggle? Let me just get that let me get that correct. Will real estate struggle for oxygen? Why we use the term oxygen? As you all know, in life, you need oxygen to survive. Once it's cut off, it's a matter of seconds that life will be terminated. In much the same way, finance, funding is the number one factor that would make real estate tick. Without finance, without adequate finance, without the correct type of finance, you will not get anywhere as a developer, as an investor, and even as a homeowner. If you don't have the right mortgage, you will not get anywhere. So effectively, we have put finance as the oxygen that real estate requires to actually take off. And in the Nigerian context, we really have to understand why there's not enough funds. I would read, especially in the developed world, we've seen where comments that have been made, and I would like to read exactly that funding is from somewhere. I've taken it up from somewhere. It says funding is not an issue. Um, Rates are very cheap. We have enough money to give to any developer or any investor. The issue is we don't have enough real estate to develop. But when any developer visits, even when we approach private investors, there's one fear. Can we sell this property? Who would take it? So I'm going to open it to our discussors to share what their thoughts are on real estate they access and what they think the issues really are. So let me start with Mr. Alexis. If you can open up for about 5 minutes, so let us have your own thoughts on this asset called real estate. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Mr. Alexis.
Yes. Good morning, participants, the chair, and the real estate guru that we have in the house. You agree with me that since 2015, real estate did not recover. If you look at the big real estate firms in Nigeria, they have been struggling since the financial crisis of 2015. And now with the new one coming in, we see things tougher. And because of about 5 elements, actually. One is the macroeconomy and the inclusion of that for liquidity and disposable income. In a situation where you have limited fund around, that you don't even know what your employer will do next, where people are losing their jobs, people are not getting promotion, things are tight, people will want to keep every cupboard that they have rather than taking investment risk. And once you have that in the environment, it becomes difficult for you to go into real estate, which you know is not liquid in our environment. The second issue is that, which is also liquidity, is that how many Nigerians do you think you can tap today? I'm a banker, and I say people I can't. How many Nigerians you can tap today and say this is a 20 million naira house, and you will pay with his own cash without taking loan? There are few. Because you need to borrow to fund it. And so borrowing to fund it means that you must have income to pay. That becomes very dicey, a tough one. There's real issue in developing world about real estate. One is the fact that in any environment where rent is cheaper than mortgage, mortgage does not survive. Mark my words. In any environment where rent is cheaper than mortgage, mortgage does not survive. That's why most of the houses you have in Nigeria, they are owner occupied. So it's emotional investment, thinking about security for the future. If I die, where will my family live? So let me take this risk and just buy everything here. So we end up being poor. We end up locking our life savings into assets that ordinarily we should not. We should have spread that money over 30 years, but we're fighting for security. Not because of yield. Because take for example, you buy a property for 70 million, they're called 100 million. You borrow money at 16% on the asset. Every year you'll be paying 16 million as interest. I bet you that house of 100 million cannot give you more than 5 million rent in a year. So if you are paying 16 million as interest, and you are getting 5 million as rent, from day one, you're underwater. No talk of paying the principal. You are talking about only the interest. So you are underwater from day one. So why would I commit my money to go and take mortgage risk and earn 5 million as rent when I know I can do alternative investment in the environment? Of course not. The third issue is the issue of need and timing. Yield, as you know, is very low. It takes about 30 years for you to get your money out. And the yield is far, far, far below inflation. So if you have yield that are far, far below inflation, why would you want me to put my money in real estate and develop it and buy it? The fourth one, the real big problem, is legal environment. I saw in one paper where people will say, oh, real estate is collateral. The house itself is collateral. The question I want to ask is that, how many houses have we been able to sell? In the last 6 years, how many houses have we been able to sell? Of course, any Nigeria, if you take over a house today that's 50 million naira, to get it sold, whoever is buying from you is likely to be asking you for another loan, okay, to struggle through. The environment might not be good enough for him to even want to buy. How many environments are preserved? 10 years down the road, you see people selling Boli across very good real estate. You see people doing all kind of things that you don't want to live in that environment again. So it's losing its own value. Who will pay for the value that you want to pay for? You cannot even go to court and say you want to evict the guy when his families are there. The law court will tell you you cannot throw them into the rain. So even though you have collateral over the asset, you can't. I've been in court for 5 years on some, and the lawyer will tell me I should give them time to go and look for another accommodation. And these guys are owing me, whereas abroad, they'll take them out. So everybody can sit back and tell me, oh, I have collateral, but that's not collateral for me. Then the last one is the trust environment. The biggest problem we are facing in Nigeria today is the trust environment. An average Nigerian just believes that he can take a loan and not pay back. He believes that he can take your money and not return. He believes that even in your own dealings, your brothers, your cousins, your friends, once your money enters their hands, to get it back is always a problem. So it's exactly the same problem. So banks will now have to take extra caution to see how they can protect themselves. All these things come together to affect real estate. And so you ask yourself, if you're a bank and somebody is in manufacturing has come to you, set up a factory, 300 million, buy raw material, the guy is producing. In 180 days, the guy has started producing. In 3 years, he has been paying your money. He's expanding, he's doing well. You give him money. This guy wants to go and buy a house of 150 million, 100 million. Of what use would that be? He can even be laid off from employment, from work. He can be sacked. Anything can happen to him. How will he pay you back? How are you going to recover your money? How can he cover it himself? Cover the whole thing himself? Of course. The answer is no. In my days, in UBA, I used to sign mortgages. I was the one approving all mortgages then. But I did not take as a staff of UBA. I refused. And people, my colleagues were saying to me, Shegun, why do you sign mortgages to us and you're not taking? I said, I've said to myself that I can't see myself doing 10 years in UBA. And because I don't want people to run after me after I've left UBA, I refuse to take that mortgage. But look at it. Most people, when they leave banking, and they take mortgages when they are in banking, when they leave banking, they cannot pay back because the interest rate environment is different. Before you know what is going on, the guy is going to pay through his nose. Everything is working for is going to pay mortgages because rent is cheaper in the environment. And that means that the properties themselves were inflated. It means that from day one, we're overpaying for properties because our income does not reflect the price of properties that we're seeing. I mean, properties of $1 million, $1.5 million. How many people earn that salary? How can they pay? For how long? It's different. So how can I be earning average salary of about 5 million in Nigeria, and I'm pricing my real estate as if I'm in UK? Something is wrong somewhere. And just because many people buy not for investment, but for as future investment for themselves, our security, and therefore they don't mind the price. So most times we believe that the properties in Nigeria are really, really overvalued. And that's why Nigerians like you and I, who want to go and look for land somewhere and start building, because the cost of that building is far, far cheaper than the cost of me going to buy a fully built one, where profit will have 150% for me to swallow. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And you have spoken so much like the risk officer you are. Most what you have said is looking for on the potential risk that would make you either book a loan or not. What I pick up for you is that you might say that valuations might be a bit off, or effectively, in terms of inflationary issues, have gone way beyond the our income uh, profile. But I'm going to switch immediately to Mr. Oyemi here from the analyst point of view. You've heard what he said. But real estate is still that security that the manufacturer will use to get his loan. The manufacturer and the businessman still depends on real estate. So what do you say? Is real estate this asset that still has the value to protect us? Thank you.
Okay, so let me try and do justice uh, backing of what Shegun said. But I'll do it in these 4 ways. One, I'll try to present the data, most likely also give you my observations, what I call the survival history. First thing is that in a crisis, the first priority and the first rule is cash preservation. The second rule is that you would only put that cash where you can get cash out again. Given these 2 rules and the nature of how the real estate which we are talking about, you would understand that if you listen too much to the global economics talking about real estate, it bears very little significance to our own market. Our market is significantly unique. Unique in the sense of 3 major areas. One, the capital formation structure where money is gotten. Banks have never been able to be the ones to fund real estate really because of the nature of their capital structure. And as such, they've tried their best, but it hasn't been. Second thing is about the nature of the fact, the informality of our real estate market. You have a lot of voidable contracts, so it also carries with it a number of risks. The third part of it is the issue of what you call the proper real estate market. So let's deal with the data. I have data in front of me here that says to me that the real estate market since 2016, I had Shegun talk about 2015, that things have recovered. Yes, he's right. The real estate has been posting negative growth since 2016. In 2016, it was minus 6.8%. 2017 was minus 4.7%. In 2018, it was minus 4.2%. And in 2019, it was minus 2.3%. But generally, it is not so much of the negativity that is important. It is the rate of decline from the negativity, which we can in effect translate to mean that it was on a path of recovery before the COVID-19. In actual fact, 2020 really started with some optimism with the regulatory provisions in the Pioneer Status and the Finance Act that we may actually see some uptick in the real estate market. But so many things happened, so many things that were occurring even before COVID, which was important for us to understand, is that one, we had crash of interest, we had crash of yields on treasury bills, and for the first time, real estate was actually competing in the market as an asset class with a yield of 6 to 8% that can be pitched to investors. Every single thing is what COVID-19 has taken. So that's how the data looks. In terms of the observations, real estate financing would actually take a makeover. The restructuring required to fund the area is critically not able at this time. In fact, it has gotten worse. The only persons who we thought would try is the luxury housing market, where we take that they will still buy, but they will take cautious steps. However, the linkage between the real estate market and our debt profile in the banking institution is one aspect people forget. Most of the houses that were taken over, either commercial, either private, under the by banks, some of them have been unable to sell them for too many reasons. One, the most obvious one being the fact that in an era where everybody starts to be corrupt, you find a situation whereby people are not happy to bring out money to buy. And so the market has been facing a challenge in that respect. Secondly, the pricing of all these assets, just like Shegun said, some of them are priced above what you call constructed market value. And as such, you find it looking down south. However, the good thing that I see that has occurred in this COVID-19 is that there was an instruction given by the governments and all the governments of the world. They said sit at home. When you say sit at home, you are assuming that one, We have met the mass housing scheme requirement. 2, you are assuming that we have built houses which are affordable. We are assuming that we are building houses which can manage the social distancing and all the requirements of dealing with the pandemic. It presents a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. What are those opportunities? Because I want to take more questions. Really, let me just run on that. You see, we have to start looking at housing rather than from building and use it from an industrialization point of view, manufacturing houses. So you can't be talking about building houses, you have to manufacture houses. That way you bring cost efficiency into it. That way you bring a model in which you can actually piggyback off the financial model you have in the economy there. 2, you have to take a look at the 2011 National Housing Policy, one that is anchored on financing, titling, and technology adoption, which will then enable things to move forward. 3rd, there is opportunity now because you will see there's going to be a rush of funds in the market. The one obvious one which the housing would have to look at, it may not be the REITs which we have. For some reason, the REIT has never really achieved its full value in terms of matching returns. But you have family home funds, which people are meeting. However, in the last few weeks, I stumbled on data that told me that corporates and middle class have defaulted in their thrift contributions towards housing, healthcare, and other contracted services because of this pandemic. So if I'm going to talk to you from an analyst position, therefore, is that the real estate market would take a bit of how do I put the words? I'm finding the right word. It will take its own share of the default.
Looking to the word to be very, very clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick the word so that I do not knock it down. But you then begin to look at the real estate and ask yourself, what is it really? A store of value? A transactionary vehicle? An investment? Or is it just some cultural feel-good factor that I also have built a house? If we then move away from that, you then look at what has happened to all the commercial properties. If we are really going to continue to stay at home, something would have to give. Some of those properties will have to be molded in a way whereby you begin to think of space sharing, and then you begin to understand what is happening. Take a look at shopping malls. People talk about shopping malls as if it's the shopping mall that's really going on, not knowing that that's just a real estate business. If people are doing less of shopping and going online, what will really happen in there? So generally, without taking too much, every single thing we have to be rewritten. And the overcautious man, Segun, he is naturally overcautious on his own to start with, talk less of whether COVID-19 came up. So he is going to be the worst enemy right now. He's not going to approve anything on his desk around real estate until he can see the cash flow and he can see that this is not going to turn into a bad debt. But here, we are going to talk about where is the oxygen for survival. So let me yield and then we can expand the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you put your data analysis even help give the direction. I can see you're leaning it even towards the overcautious man as well, saying that the cash flow for real estate effectively may not support a lot of ambition that we're looking at. But then again, I've done a bit of fact research, and I've seen effectively that real estate takes time to gallop, and I use that word gallop. Effectively, we can understand because of its almost a liquid state. You cannot translate it immediately, just like you do a stock investment in stock or even treasury bill. But if you look at the comparison over time and you work the performance of this asset, real estate between 3 to 4 years, and usually 5 years, gallops its way out of lethargy. So those values that you're looking at today rise. But how we've not been able to interpret it very well in Nigeria. Because the yield we're dealing with, when we say yields are 6-7%, and we have interest rates at 22%. Now, capital appreciation of this actual asset is almost 30%. How do we marry that? How do you effectively take that into stock from the risk point of view? Are we shifting more to a trade, looking at it as a trade, commodity, or effectively looking at it, if we use cash flow, definitely we cannot defend it. But how do we
So,
now
Bega, I know that
analyze
this
it?
question, I know this question is for Shell, but let me quickly interject there.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk in relative terms or you can talk in absolute. The way you throw out numbers, you are leading to a conclusion, but it doesn't work that way. You see, the way the banking source of funding works needs to be in such a way that it can match with your own expectation. There's a mismatch there. Most of these funds are either short-term, not more than 1 year max, if he gets it. He can't fund you waiting for so many years without pricing all those risks inside it. And then your model for financing, if it doesn't have off-takers and what have you, you're already in the dead in the water already. So there's a mismatch. I'll allow Segun to answer, but the real question you should be focusing on is that, what about the concept of smart cities, where you have demand, you have the ability, but again, 70 to 80% of every single thing you use in your constructions is mostly imported. Your supply chain management thing is stretched out, so which means you're brought in, so you don't have anything, you don't have alternative, you don't have the backup. And even right now, if I funded you in January, everything about you is stretched beyond now. He's going to carry the can. So let me yield for Segun to answer that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, thank you very much.
Over to you.
You've done a lot of job as part of this. The reality is this. He said it. Basel says that by the time you have long-term exposure in your balance sheet, there is more than 11% of your loan book already tending towards crisis. In other words, I have 1 year money with me. Most of my deposits are current savings, fixed deposit, 90 days or whatever. So we don't have long-term funds. Let's say I raise 10 billion, 10 years venture and all that. And I give it to you, real estate, and you tell me you're going to pay me back in 10 years, 15 years. If the quantum is going to cross 11% of my loan book, you are putting me in a very difficult position, because when the owners of the deposit come to look for their money, I must be able to pay them back. That's one. Two, we are in a country where people find it so convenient to default and not pay. So, as Lagos State government, they used to have the Lagos State government Building and Investment Corporation. What happened to them? They built Abesan. You know, they gave people money for Abesan. My uncle benefited Abesan at 6%. What happened to them? Why would Lagos State government not continue with that? If Lagosians or people in Lagos actually pay their mortgages at the right time. And these are civil servants working, people are working in employment. They build many houses. But Nigerians will find it convenient to default. Union Homes, look at what they were doing before and how they were moving. What happened to them? You can see the default that people had. You know? So it becomes a very difficult thing for people to even fund. And then when you don't stretch the cash flow, inflation in the environment is average of 12% in the last 5 years. I'm not sure that that's more than anything like that. And yet we are talking about yield of 8%. So you are telling me from day one, I should accept a yield lower than inflation. Of course not. People will tell me, oh, in 10 years, 15 years, the value of the property will have increased. Until I sell it, that value is imaginary. If you walk through the street of Lekki now, on the street you see like 5 houses for sale or for rent. No tenant, no buyer. On the street. A street of 20 houses. 6, 7, empty. Looking for tenant or looking for buyer. So even if you say your house worth 300 million, is imaginary number. It's just to make you feel good. Nothing until you get a buyer. And whatever anybody is willing to pay for it is a value. Some have been there for 3 years, no buyer, nothing. One day you get for future, you say, okay, what's the best price? You are asking, let me throw it and go. Whereas you have been dreaming all these years that you want 300 million. So that's the real fact. And as Femi said, we need to have technology we need to bring technology into housing in such a way that the cost of delivering house should be cheaper, in such a way that it will be so easy for virtually everyone to subscribe. Why? I mean, today, if you look at low-cost housing schemes, civil servants who are able to access Federal Mortgage Bank money are piling into it. Once you tell them you can get a housing fund, you're able to get your house without subscribe, because people are looking at single digit, people are looking at long term, and people are looking at the institution. And you need to get to that. If you check advanced countries, even South Africa, 50% of loan books or banks in South Africa are mortgages, because during appetite it was single digit. JIBA was like 4%. So people were able to benefit from that and bought houses and can pay over 30 years. Of course, instead of you paying as tenant, you will own your own house. As you work, you pay your mortgage. You are fine. And that is why even abroad, they have different pricing and risk profile for owner-occupier and buy-to-let. Because buy-to-let will have its own risk. But when you are in there, it's always believed that you will struggle to pay because you don't want to be on the streets. In Nigeria, he will default, he will not pay, he will go to court. He will be there and he will tell you to go and write off. Forgive me interest of 5 years. And everybody say you are callous. Of course, these are serious issues in the environment. And institutions that have taken it upon themselves to build good houses suffered in the last 5 years. So we need to go back and ask ourselves, how can we deliver houses cheaper? How can we restore confidence in the environment? And how, I mean, even title, the process of changing title, how will it be easier than what we have seen today? Because if it's going to be easier for me to just buy property and change title, it's easier for me to deal with that. But it's not what I'll be going from year to year, paying this and this for 10 years, property, you cannot do this, cannot do that. I mean, it can't. For me, I always tell my wife that I won't build property in Lagos for anybody to rent. I've said that over 20 years ago. I can't chase any tenant. I'm a tenant myself where I'm staying. I'm a tenant in somebody's house. But I won't build for anybody to be tenant because I've seen the problems that they face. And those are things that we need to fix to make housing viable. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Now, the good, a valid point you raised, and which we, I mean, as a country, we need to look at is the supply chain. I'm a valuer, and I understand effectively that 80% of the input cost of putting out a house up is what makes this inflationary pressure. We import all the variables, maybe apart from the blocks, the cement, and all of these things that involved in it. But the majority of every other part of it is imported. When I even look at the commercial buildings that are built today, it's almost 90% imported in that aspect. And when we do our valuation profiling, the superstructure is 10% of the value of the frame of what we value. It's just 10%. All the other aspects make up the finishing, the plumbing, the electrical. So those costs we are really struggling with. So the developer has a mountain to climb if he's going to fund any project, seeing that all these things will be brought into the country. Now we look at a naira that is under pressure. We're not even sure where the rate will be by the end of the year. And we have done valuations in January that we presented to the bank that this project is XYZ. Now, we then begin to struggle with the yield when costs go up. But I still strongly believe that real estate can take any beating and we still remain standing. We just have the funding wrong. We need to understand how we fund this real estate to force down whatever risk premium that has been put on it. So, Mr. Oyemi, risk premium from the investor, what are they looking at? Because effectively, if we're saying it's 6%, 5%, and you know what, the treasury bills have gone down now, but as of last year, we have this serious battle in fighting against 14%, and this rent, which is true. You build a house for, let's say, you buy a house for 120 million, and your rent is 5 million. You put 120 million in treasury bills, you get 14%. It's a no-brainer. No one is going to give me funds. So how do you situate that? You're mute. You're still on mute.
Since this is a Chambers of Commerce discussion, and we can afford to tell ourselves some very serious home truths, I have only a single property in Nigeria. If I had my way, I would never have built that property. I would have been better off buying that property in UK, Canada, or USA, whereby I get value of my property. The property offers me no value. First, I cannot collateralize it. I cannot extract value for it. I've just locked down money there. It's only the personal satisfaction to know that you have a house worth X amount, because it doesn't offer you any value. If I go to Segun and say I want to borrow, if probably take that value of that house for me, I say less than even 40 or 50%. Because if we tell you that I can't sell it, I can't sell it. It offers no major. See, the whole problem is about the funding structure. The real guys who should be funding the real estate are from the pension and the insurance sector. Those are the guys who should be funding it, not the banks. They are not, but they are alien to the structure because of their funding deposit structure. And Segun tried to explain it. I'm not here defending the bank. I'm just trying to be honest to us all. To understand that, look, you see those developers raise money, buy house, split it, and do it. I don't even understand the business model for the real estate industry. First and foremost, currently, sales is at high risk right now. Because you see, the common denominator in every economy is the household. If the household is pressured, his consumer purchasing power is depleted. In his order of priorities, he has reduced his priority right now to saying he wants to buy a house or build a house. So if you build a house, for example, and you wanted to say you want to give it out for rent, you yourself explain it. If you build a house for 120 million and you're collecting 500 million, which is even high on its own, how long is that going to take? It doesn't make sense, because you cannot even extract value from that property you own, which you give out to rent, because it is not collateralized. You cannot, there are no asset-backed securities upon which you can do. You cannot, what is that word you use? You cannot do a remortgage, you cannot mortgage, you cannot extract value. The fundamental problem I have is that, why would you have a 200 million naira house that you cannot use for anything? That, in effect, it's the wrong thing. So going back to the investment class, I do know of people with portfolios, with houses in there, which they cannot dispose of as to you prior to COVID, during COVID, and going forward. However, I also do know that there are investment projects on the table now that have gotten stuck, even though they have the highest potential of funding outside the country, and which are smart cities, which they understand that they can actually build and they can actually get people to pay for. There are quite a couple of them. I mean, the Lagos State government one has told, the one Ogun State is constructing, is considering, has funding from China. Maybe they will still come back to it. The table, I do not know, but I'm sure it has funding. I know of one being considered in Oyo State, but I'm wondering, in case of priorities, is Oyo State the right place for a smart city? Then, you understand? So you have all this thing going on about. So if you ask him, would an investor be putting money in real estate? He would only be doing so if he's cherry picking. What do I mean by that? He's going to look for depressed assets, and he's going to buy them because he knows that they are going to go under the value. So it's a smart move for him to allow the prices to go down, and if he can put pressure on it to push it down further, he'll push it down, then buy it, if only to use it as a collateral to extract his value for funding, which goes back to where people like Segun are always so skeptical. Because I will buy that property only knowing when I'm going to use it as a collateral to back up another facility with Segun. Segun ends up becoming a real estate manager without knowing, because all his assets are backed by properties, which he can't sell. I mean, if you want to buy properties, go to banks now. You see so many of them there. And they can't even sell them because they are waiting to get value on it. So they are stuck with it. Otherwise, they will start disposing and doing fire sales. So here's the challenge we face. We face a challenge of the financial model. That's really what I see about it.
I strongly agree that we face this challenge of the financial model, and that's what I'm going to. As I listen to both of you, I can feel the oxygen just draining, the oxygen just moving away from real estate assets, not understanding basically what it's going to do. But I am an ardent, as we can understand the right financial model, we will move significantly. The pressures need to come down from the interest rate understanding. We need to be able to understand the risk more and effectively. You've mentioned the pension fund, the life insurance institution. We have to begin to focus on that. They are the long-term funds that we need to attract into the market and give them this understanding that real estate is still the same real estate that has benefited people centuries before. And I need both of you to begin to let us work and think of how we find a solution. There's a survival. This is about finding the survival key for the developer, for the investor, and even the homeowner who wants to have that house as a shelter. Nigeria, the culture right now is, as you said, you build for yourself to live it. I had a conversation with a client this morning, and he said to me that he made an unfortunate, I won't call it a mistake, decision. He built a house in Kogi. He spent almost 20 million. He bought the land at 2.1 million. And today, effectively, he doesn't have the need for the house. He's trying to sell the house for 35. He's getting offers at 15. He said he could have had better use of his 20 million. Now, effectively, if he was in Lagos, it would be a different situation. So there's different dynamics. So we need to understand our structuring and our market to be able to now advise better for people who want to invest these scarce resources and release capital. So I want, how do we refocus investment and better use of resources? Mr. Leberishu, how would you change your understanding of the risk that you want to limit?
Well, changing my risk.
I hope you got my own question.
Okay, maybe you want to take it again?
Your risk judgment. Yes. How do you begin to change your risk judgment? How do we now begin to look downward?
See,
that real estate can work. The environment is tough now, but we need to be able to look at what we need to do.
You know, one fun aspect of life, every good thing invites people to come forward. When I see good things in real estate, it will invite me to come. So real estate must fix its own problem for us to be interested. Because I can't pile my funds in there expecting you to change, expecting the overvaluation to change, expecting people to import everything from Spain, from China, from Dubai, bringing everything to Nigeria, imported inflation, and build a house of 200 million and say I should come and fund it. Of course not. And then I took something off with one of my directors by a month ago, and I said to them that how many people can take mortgages of 50, 70 million? They kept quiet. And I said, many people who are able to buy properties of 50, 60, 70 million and above, they are between 45 and 55 years old. And the employer can decide at that time whether they need you or not. So the top start turning. So if I give you a mortgage now for 10 years and you're 50, I assume you'll be at work at 60. 80% of times you won't be at work at 55. What happened to my mortgage at that time? Who will pay in retirement when you don't have income and you have school fees to pay? These are realities. Because the operating environment is harsh. The employment rules are different. The macro is tough. The money I have with me is in trust. I'm a custodian of people's money. It doesn't belong to me. Banking is built on trust. You can't throw those funds away. I must see value in that real estate. People have come to me, I'm sure they reported me to you or to many people, and they tell me, oh, one proposal, somebody is dreaming of 1,000 houses somewhere, and I just get out of my house. I'm not willing to build houses somewhere that everybody will buy. The cost will kill the guy. The guy will be flat. You can't do anything. Yet he wants to make his own profit. So that's the reality we need to face. As Femi said, the pension funds and the insurance funds, they're the real ones that you also get involved in real estate, actually. And what I expect we're going to have will be real estate firms raising money from pension funds and from insurance that they have long-term funds, able to plug it in, thinking and believing that what is happening in the operating environment now, the treasury bill rate is single digit, right? And there are few outlets for funds that might force pension funds and insurance companies to now invest in real estate funds, believing that will give them better yield than treasury bills. But we need to also work something on legislation, government. Can government give tax rebates for people that will invest in real estate? Because if there's tax rebate, then it means that the yield will be better. So because of that tax element, many people will go into it. I do know abroad that a mortgage interest is deductible before you pay tax. So because of that, many people go in to buy property, knowing fully well that the interest they pay on mortgages is deductible before they slam you for tax. So that helps a lot. So even as part of your own tax planning, you want to go and borrow so that you can have interest to reduce yourself. So it's like, for God's sake, interest I pay to this bank, they return it to me, they won't tax me on it. It makes life easy. I don't know how Nigerian law works, but I'm not sure we have that.
Okay. So, Mr. Roman, can you just finally round up, because I want to try and see if there are any questions from the audience, so we can respond to them. So please give me that, especially on creative funding that we can use, we can begin to look at and challenge
this is breaking
this particular limitation that we have. Did you hear me?
Somebody mute one noise. Yeah, good. Okay, fine.
There's one.
Okay, so a quick one. I saw a question from someone who said the points have been well taken, but that they are talking about oxygen. Okay, so here is the way you get oxygen. Like any other person with a pre-existing condition, which the real estate has. In actual fact, it has so many underlying health conditions, which makes it. The first most important thing is there are a lot of fraud in that industry. If we do not address or deal with it, that within the value chain, there are serious levels of which people who have tried to get involved with them have had their hands burned. I have been involved in reviewing assets along properties along the Lekki, Victoria Island, Ikoyi axis, and a number of people who put money down for development, whatever, either through financial institutions, have never received their money 10 years back, not even received any documents online. That has already spooked a number of people. That is one. Second issue is this. At some stage, maybe the real estate industry, especially the chamber, can begin to throw information out concerning the National Housing Fund and its impact, and most important, pension fund issues. Why is that important? You see, Shehu was talking about your yield. There are 4 levels to that yield. One, he spoke about tax rebates clearly. 2 is a pioneer status position, which housing can take, real estate can take, if it shifts away from building houses to manufacturing houses. There is a way in which you can switch it. It looks like semantic, but it's not. Manufacturing houses is a different thing that can attract you within a pioneer status. The third thing is to reverse your input structure. Your input structure is heavily FX dependent. It's 70 to 80% of your input are all imported. It makes your cost so high and makes it easy. So are you also thinking of developing the local space as well? So if you take a look, whenever we talk about real estate in here, we are looking at the ecosystem, architecture, construction, welding and fabrication, estate property agent, land survey, property acquisition, geo mapping, land registry, financial. Sorry. Okay, I'm back on.
Yeah, back on. Okay.
But that's just my cue to end it there so that we take questions.
Okay, so we've got some questions and some comments already. I think one of it you have answered, but I think a few of the questions have been, a lot of it has been the problems, the risk. What are the solutions? What can there be? What solutions? Then one other comment that was made here was that this was directed at Mr. Leviusu, that he should please tell us what projects can be bankable in the current situation. Also, there are some properties with great rental return. Maybe he's looking in the wrong places with the wrong type of property. So what kind of properties do you think are bankable? And well, effectively, there are some supposedly some properties are giving great return. Do you think so? So that's to you, Mr. Leviusu. Do you think there are properties that are bankable? Investment types that are bankable?
Most times, medium to low cost housing schemes are usually easier to sell and dispose of. But most times, the developers that are going to those assets also have their own problem. As I said, the trust environment matters. Mr. Femi just said it. People gave money to properties, they don't get their money back. So sometimes you'll be building and believing that these guys will finish and funds will come to you. It will have to be problem upon problems, so you don't get money out. You can imagine me chasing, I joined First Bank about 3.5 years ago. A property that was fully built in Ogudu before I joined First Bank. As I'm speaking to you today, I've not gotten my money, I've not gotten my money back. I'm saying that it was bad before I joined First Bank. It's almost 4 years after. I've not gotten my money back. Fully built. If you are in a position, you go for another one. And that's not the only one. So the question here is that when you are even fully built, they're saying there are no buyers.
So you're very...
I'm breaking.
There's still buyers.
Are you hearing me now?
You're breaking, me now? You're breaking. Yes, I can hear you, but you're breaking.
Oh, okay.
Yes, okay. we can hear you.
I said, so when you have fully built properties, up till now, they are not yet sold. 4 years after. I have one in Ikeja. I have to sell it to my staff to get out of it. 40 flats after 4 years. So where you have built even estates, you don't have buyers for them. I said last time that the easiest is where people say, I'm building low cost. You can have money from National Housing Fund, a single digit, 20 years, 30 years. People know where the money can come from. And then that off-takers are paying 20 to 30% equity. You know the guy will not run away. You won't ask me to come into real estate where you don't even have 5% or 10% equity. You don't even have off-takers that up to 20% of people who want to live in that estate. You are building 1,000 flats. You have 20 people. You are asking me to come and start funding. The other people will be coming as I fund. I'm not going to do that because I know that will be stuck there. Once I get in, I can't get out. Okay? You know that once I get in, I can't get out until I finish that.
I want to sorry to interrupt. I want to look at it that if I think we can hear you. I just sorry to interrupt here, but I want to put another face on it. We've seen the influx of what I call the private equity. They've developed, they've changed some of the stage of development, especially in Kui. Now they've brought some funds and they've challenged the market. Along with them came the South African insurance company. Now, I think they've seen some returns that are beneficial in that sector of the market. And they're wondering is, what are they seeing that you are not seeing? But I believe that they've seen something that's making them strong.
There's something in the economy we call the market for lemons. There's information asymmetries. Sometimes you think people know, but they don't know anything. The private equity funds, they piled to Nigeria 5, 6, 7 years ago. Private equity fund, pouring dollar into a developing world. But when devaluation came, can they get out? Where's Abraj? I was in African Development Bank when Abraj was raising money. Africa, Nigeria. And I ruled then that money would never flow to those guys. Guys were shocked that why did I take that position? I said, no. That because they don't know what they're doing. You can't raise dollar to come and invest. And when you be getting out, you can't even get the dollar back in the economy. But when they sit down there, they will take a model. They will do maths. Young people will always have ideas. And in this world, everybody will just tell you they want to go do investment somewhere. Hey, yield is there, Nigeria, it can be 60-70%. They forget the fact that there could be devaluation in 6 months that can wipe off everything that you have. And that the margins you are looking forward to will not. If you go and ask US properties, what happened to them? Even though they are investing in Naira. So it's not the same. So the private equity guys can always tell you, I will build, I will sell, I will this. But reality is that when the chips are down, they will know that it doesn't work that way. It's reality. It's reality.
Right.
The Koi properties we are talking about that are building tall buildings. Hello?
Go on, finish up, please. Finish up.
Okay, so for me, I give them.
Go on.
I always give them 3 to 5 years, and let's see the next economic cycle, and see who will survive. The answer is that there will always be winners and losers, and I always put my bet that I will watch you. All the variables I will define, I will put my model, and I'll put on the floor. Let me see how you're going to cross it. They've all lost their money. And when I was in ADB, we were sitting about $1 billion private equity fund across Africa. And I always get their reports on quarterly basis on their investments and the returns they're looking at and all those things. I observed that after 2 years, I would start seeing negative return. When they were going, they were so optimistic. Oh, we're going to do this in Nigeria. Oh, we're going to do this and this. Hey, we're going to do this. But it doesn't work. It doesn't. The real guys that really make money in real estate.
Right.
Hello?
Sorry, say that again. The real guys?
The real guys that will make money in real estate.
I can hear you. The real guys that make money in real estate.
Yes. Are guys that who have access to long-term funds that are cheap, and they have strong client base that they can tap into. In other words, when you're coming to a bank, you have like 200 people that have subscribed to your program. They know you are very good. They know you develop. They know you build to standard. They need this. So they're already there. Some of them even pay 30, 40 on their own. So it's easier to say, okay, I'm coming to a bank. I have people that want to take up these houses. They pay 30%, 40% equity, this money. So just add yours. And I know that with 70%, I will finish these houses. So I know what is coming. So the banks can see that no one will pay 40% of a house and abandon it and not take it over when it's finished. It's easier. And it means that the firm will have reputation. And they have done A, B, C, D. Look at HFP. Those guys, I mean, they've proven virtually everything they do, people oversubscribe because everybody believe they will bid well and they will finish. I mean, it's different from the scam that we have all over the place. Then people pay for houses, people develop money, things disappear, houses are abandoned, projects are abandoned, nothing works. Of course not. Even the one you finished, they said they could not sell in 6 years. You are hanging in there. Yes.
So, okay, let me bring in Mr. Awayemi now. But before you answer that, I want to, there's a question that's here. On the issue of fully built properties that aren't sold or sellable on the open market, isn't this about the fact that the developers didn't do their base research or feasibility and pricing? And I would add to that, is it also because they haven't built to standard, the quality of what they're building?
You see, sometimes,
over to you.
You know, when people ask questions, they already have the answers they want to hear. So you may not have heard what we have said. But if you really want the answer to that question, let me give you practical examples. Take a look at the wings built by Owando himself. Has he been able to get tenants in the whole place? Owando built it. That's an oil company. It's not struggling. Has he been able to get tenants to take it up? Now, just giving you a practical example. It's there for everybody to see now. It's not some theoretical thing we are talking about. The wings is there. It doesn't have full tenants. Take a look at the one built by, built by Jimovia. Civic Towers is fully occupied. There's a dynamic. Ashegun was telling you something. He said there are two extremes to it. There are two legs to this thing. Your source and your cash flow end. Your source of funding and your cash strips that will come from it. If those two things are not tied around the project model, it's a mismatch. There is a simple thing that we fail to always address every time we talk. Any country without a strong mortgage system is only investing in Russian roulette. We're playing the casino game. It's a casino game we're playing. And for me personally, the greatest challenge I believe about Nigerian real estate is the question that there's a natural stigma. Look, I do due diligence on companies for other international people, investors as well. The current teams, let me tell you the three things we discovered. One, the chances of that person becoming fraudulent is almost 70% high. There are few of them who are not involved in any fraud. Less than 20, 25%. But the majority of the numbers who just mess up the market for other people are there. That's the number one red flag. The second flag is that they do not have a sales model. If you look at everybody, they do promo, they do whatever. It's not really that there is a demand. They go ahead and try to sell. It's not like it's demand driven. When it was demand driven, the cash flow will reflect that. And the second third thing is that if you look at those real estate businesses themselves, they do not even have capital structure themselves. They do not even have a capital funding structure, whereby they do not own the capital, but they have backers who finance their projects because they perform, because they deliver, because they do what they have to do. And so let's be honest. There are three levels to this problem: the sovereign one, the one at the corporate, and the one at the level of the individual. At the sovereign level, we have to, that's not a conversation for here, but there are issues there. But the opportunity is also there from the laws they passed anyway. At the level of the corporates, it becomes a major challenge. Let me tell you, there's a bank who built a property, and in the last 6 months, have decided to sell and lease back, to release their property so that they just rent some floors in there so that they can just rent it out and get cash flow. Because the banks are beginning to realize that holding assets is not part of their core business. They are learning the lesson which HSBC learned a long time ago when he built a house in Canary Wharf and decided to take it off his books and just take up 2 or 3 properties there. But they built it to their own taste. That's the only advantage. But they get cash flows from it every now and then. Nobody's going to hold it because that's one of the challenges you have. Having said that, why do people build properties and nobody is there? The example that Shegun gave with you, most of the cash, we all know that real estate is also a vehicle for money. So most of those properties, they were not looking to look for tenant. They just said tenant would come. Because anybody, if he borrowed money, he wouldn't keep that property in that place, in the way it is. So that happens a lot. That's not the fault of the real estate business. That's a global practice of how it works. It's not a case of Nigeria's problem, but that happens. And as such, banks says the guy built this one, built that one, but they never know who wants to live in there. Take a tour along Ikoyi, and you see how many empty houses you find there. You see the for rent, for let, for lease, for sale, is so high all over the place. Why? Because the funding, they didn't need the money from the bank in the first place, but they built what people do not want in those areas. So anyway, because of the man who asked me about oxygen, I'm beginning to feel very guilty. That the only oxygen I think is that I'll use my best endeavor to help to make the case. But I just see something very clear. You see, in every system, some people will say, no, I'm not going to invest in property. Somebody is ready to climb up the property ladder. Somebody is ready to get involved in it, but somebody else is about to lose his money as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we will be drawing to a close now, and to summarize a lot of what we've discussed of. I'm not sure if Mr. Lebeshu is still with us. I know he said he had a meeting that will start about.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Good. So we're winding down, and it's been quite interesting what we've exchanged. And effectively, I see some structural situations here, effectively in funding real estate, particularly in this client. We have an opposite of a situation in Nigeria, different from what it is in South Africa, completely different from what it is on the East African end of scale. Nigeria particularly is suffering in its ability to fund its real estate, which is clear from the discussion I've had today. It is also clear that the cost issues are making the end product very expensive to even become affordable to certain people, and to even for the bank to even fund realistically. But again, I see that those who have to play their part, and if I remember in UK in the 1950s, well, I don't remember, I've read that in 1950s, effectively, what happened was that the pension fund came into the market and backed the developers. And this changed the market. It totally opened up what we now call the commercial space in UK and the commercial space in the United States. So effectively, that happened. So we need to attract the attention of these institutions to let them understand that we need to drop down what the interest rate is. We need to increase the yield by reducing the cost. And if a property, be commercial, I would ask one question. What are you going to bet on?
What?
Real estate or cash?
Or what? Or cash?
Would you effectively would you still hold your money as a banker and not give more money? Right now, loans to real estate is about 2% or 3% of the loan books.
Not now. Far from it. Hello.
Best answer.
Far from it.
Bigger.
It's like it's frozen.
Okay. Well, we'll wait for him as the moderator.
So sorry. Can you
Yes, we can hear you.
hear me? I got cut off there for I think my network got off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yes,
now.
we can.
Hello, can you hear?
Did you hear
Yes,
his reply? Yeah.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yes, we
We can hear you now.
Hello? I can see. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you very well.
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can hear you now.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
I'm not sure. I can't.
Okay, so we can close there.
Yeah, we can close. Okay.
Hello.
Now you're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was rounding up. What I was saying simply is that, okay, what I was saying was that I was trying to summarize what we picked up. So the last thing I said was that, would you now, after leading to work, but I'll just ask, going on, cash or loans to real estate, which would you do?
I said I will hold my cash, and the real estate is far from it. Far from it. I'll keep my cash.
Far from it. Okay. I got you. So you are taking the oxygen out of it. You see what I mean? Cash or real estate?
It's always cash
How
for
do
me.
you,
The first
what
rule.
would you advise me to do?
The first rule in a crisis situation is you hold cash. The second rule is you put cash where you can take cash out. So that's just a simple rule. But if there is an opportunity in real estate at a knockdown value, we will go and look for other people's money to acquire it.
Knockdown value. Is it what do you call it? Lockdown value or knockdown value?
Knockdown value.
Knockdown.
Knockdown.
Knockdown value. Okay,
Yes.
knockdown value. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what I mean, basically, both of you have not collaborated to take out the oxygen, but effectively you said that real estate will probably struggle in the short and medium term. What we'll take away is the point you've said needs to be worked on to deliver this asset to its real to deliver real value and its real potential.
Yeah.
Now, a good thing you've said is that a lot of it is macro and structural, and it's not allowing the asset to fulfill its promises. So from the chamber point of view, it's what we will look at and work and speak to the different parties that are involved, especially as you said, tax. Look at the tax point of view and let us see how that can benefit the sector, both from the players, the developers, and also the users, the homeowners. And effectively, we'll do that. But I would end now by sincerely thanking you, giving us your time, especially your expert knowledge in all of this and your experiences in the various areas. I have particularly enjoyed listening and hearing what you said. And remember, I am a valuer. So effectively, when I go back and do my evaluation, I will take some of these points and start revaluing and speaking how we present our figures and opinions on market value. So it's actually the market that dictates what the value and end prices should be. So I thank you, my panelists. I thank those who have listened in so far and have given us the time. From the Chamber of Commerce real estate sector, we will give you, we would have another discussion point and a discussion area where we will tackle some of these points from a different angle and a different point of view. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Mr. Alebioshu, you can go to your meeting now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're ready. One of the lessons I've learned, I mean, movie comment, Bayo, one of the lessons we could learn is